This wasn't supposed to become public. Years after their divorce, Michael Jordan's ex-wife made a quiet decision to sell her wedding ring. Not just any ring, a ring tied to one of the greatest sports legends in history. But when Michael Jordan found out, he didn't argue, didn't ignore it, and didn't react the way anyone expected. What he did next shocked everyone, and changed the meaning of that ring forever. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. No one expected this story to resurface, especially so many years after Michael Jordan and Juanita Vanoy's divorce. What began as a quiet, personal decision quietly caught the public's attention when reports surfaced that Juanita was considering selling her wedding ring. At first glance, it seemed like a simple matter, a woman choosing to part with a piece of jewelry from a past chapter of her life. But the reality was far more complex and deeply emotional. This was not just any ring. It was a symbol of a marriage that once existed in the public eye, a union that had endured nearly 2 decades of life under intense scrutiny. The ring represented memories, shared experiences, and the private moments of a relationship that millions around the world had watched unfold from afar. To many, it was a piece of history tied to one of the greatest athletes of all time. Beyond its sentimental value, the ring also had significant material worth. Crafted with precision and featuring high-quality diamonds, it naturally attracted attention from collectors and auction houses. News outlets speculated about the potential bidding war, while social media buzzed with curiosity and opinion. To the outside world, it appeared to be a story about money, fame, and a personal item being transformed into a collectible. Yet beneath the surface, there was more to the story, layers of emotion, reflection, and respect that were invisible to the public. Michael Jordan's response, when he learned about the ring, defied expectations. Instead of reacting with anger, indifference, or public statements, he approached the situation quietly and thoughtfully. His actions that followed revealed a side of the story that few could have predicted, a side rooted in respect, dignity, and understanding. This ring, a seemingly ordinary piece of jewelry, would become the starting point of a story about choices, values, and surprising humanity. One that captured the attention of fans and observers alike. In 1989, Michael Jordan married Juanita Vanoy, a union that quickly became one of the most publicized marriages in sports history. At that time, Jordan's career was rising at an unprecedented pace. He was becoming not just a basketball superstar, but a global icon. Championships, endorsements, and international fame came quickly, transforming his life, and by extension, the life of his family, into a story the world couldn't stop watching. For nearly 2 decades, Juanita stood by his side. She shared in the highs of championship wins, the excitement of public recognition, and the pressures of a life constantly under scrutiny. Cameras followed their every move, media outlets reported on every milestone, and fans everywhere felt they had a front-row seat to their marriage. While the public saw success, the couple navigated challenges behind closed doors. Life in the spotlight brought immense pressures. Long periods apart, relentless travel, and the responsibilities of a superstar lifestyle took a toll on their relationship. Over time, what once seemed unbreakable began to show cracks. The demands of fame and the strains of daily life created challenges even love and commitment sometimes couldn't overcome. In 2006, after 17 years together, Michael and Juanita officially divorced. The settlement was significant, reflecting both the length of their marriage and Jordan's achievements. To many, it seemed this chapter of their lives was closed forever. Yet even years later, one personal item, the wedding ring, remained quietly preserved. Though small in size, it carried the weight of memories, emotions, and a shared past. Little did anyone know, this simple piece of jewelry would soon bring the story back into the spotlight, opening a new chapter that would surprise fans and remind the world that some symbols carry deeper meaning than most realize. Years after their divorce, Juanita Vanoy reportedly made a surprising decision. She considered selling her wedding ring. It wasn't due to financial need, and it wasn't about seeking attention. Rather, the choice was deeply personal. Over time, the ring, which had once symbolized love and commitment, had become a reminder of a chapter in her life that brought more emotional weight than joy. For Juanita, the ring represented a marriage that had started with hope and promise, but eventually ended despite their best efforts. It carried memories of moments that were once unbreakable, yet had quietly faded over time. Holding on to it no longer felt meaningful, and letting it go became a way to find closure and move forward. With this in mind, she reached out to a private jeweler to handle the sale discreetly. Her intention was never to make headlines or cause controversy. It was simply a personal decision to part with an item tied to a deeply emotional past. However, news of the ring soon began to circulate. Collectors saw it as a rare opportunity, while media outlets speculated on the story. Social media picked up the discussion, and curiosity spread rapidly. Many viewed it as a story about money or fame, but, as with so much in life, the full story was more complex. Eventually, someone informed Michael Jordan about the potential sale. And it was at this point that the narrative shifted entirely. His response would surprise everyone, showing a side of him that went far beyond the public image of a basketball legend. What seemed like a simple transaction became an emotional story about respect, reflection, and choices, proving that sometimes objects carry a significance far greater than their material value. When Michael Jordan learned that his former wife was considering selling their wedding ring, many expected a reaction, perhaps anger, indifference, or a public statement. But Jordan's response surprised everyone. Instead of ignoring the situation, letting it go to auction, or making it a media spectacle, he quietly took action. Without headlines, without public announcements, and without any drama, Jordan bought the ring himself. It wasn't about showing ownership, proving a point, or flaunting wealth. Friends and insiders later revealed that his motivation was far more thoughtful and personal than anyone could imagine. For him, the ring was not a trophy to be displayed or a collectible to be auctioned. It was a symbol of history, of shared experiences, and of respect for a chapter of his life that had helped shape him, not just as an athlete, but as a person. Jordan's gesture reflected his understanding of the emotional value attached to the ring. He wanted to ensure it was handled with dignity, without turning it into something sensational or commercial. It was a decision rooted in respect, for the past, for the memories, and for Juanita Vanoy, the woman who stood beside him during pivotal years of his life. What made the story even more remarkable was what he did afterward. Instead of keeping the ring for himself, he returned it to Juanita, recognizing that its meaning was hers as much as it was his. This quiet, thoughtful decision revealed a side of Michael Jordan that the public rarely sees. A man capable of empathy, humility, and respect, even in situations that could have been contentious or attention-grabbing. In a world obsessed with fame, power, and material wealth, this simple, private act spoke volumes. It showed that sometimes the most powerful decisions are those made quietly, with thoughtfulness, respect, and a deep understanding of what truly matters. After quietly buying the wedding ring, Michael Jordan could have done many things. He could have kept it for himself, placed it in a private collection, or even sold it for profit. But instead, he chose a path few could have anticipated. He returned it to Juanita Vanoy. Along with the ring came a private note. The contents were never officially revealed, but sources close to the family say it carried a simple yet profound message. Some memories don't belong to the world. They belong to us. In that single act, Michael Jordan transformed what could have been a story about money, fame, or material value into a lesson about respect, empathy, and dignity. This gesture left many people stunned. Fans and observers alike began to see Jordan not just as a basketball legend or a billionaire mogul, but as a man capable of deep thought, quiet grace, and emotional intelligence. The ring, once a symbol of love lost and public fascination, no longer represented wealth or status. It became a symbol of closure, understanding, and the power of humility. In a society often obsessed with winning, status, and material possessions, Michael Jordan showed that sometimes the greatest victory is knowing when to step back, let go, and act with respect. His decision was private, unassuming, and entirely personal, but its impact spoke loudly to those who witnessed it. This wasn't a story about basketball, endorsements, or diamonds. It was a story about dignity, respect, and humanity. And it reminded the world that true greatness is not only measured by what you achieve on the court, but also by the quiet, thoughtful decisions you make in life, decisions that leave a lasting impression far beyond fame or fortune.